Big stuff, how y'all feeling? Yes! Man, I'm excited to be back for session 2. Man, before we get started, I just felt like I wanted to say this because I just been just experiencing just some life change that's taken place in y'all life, but I also know that y'all didn't come here alone. If you came here with the greatest small group leaders, youth pastors, and youth group leaders in the room, make some noise right now. That's what I'm talking about. Listen, man, your small group leaders, your youth pastor, your youth group leader, I want to let you know the adults that came down here with you to pour into your life, man, it's a big, big deal. A lot of students are where you are right now and don't have an ally with a mature adult voice speaking into their life. And y'all got that in your small group leaders and youth pastors. And so I just wanted to take a moment and celebrate them. Listen, I am excited to continue our conversation about this idea of what has us out of breath. Last night, I sort of just hopped in without telling y'all a little bit about myself. And so I want to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Marquise Cox. I am from Atlanta, Georgia, originally from Los Angeles, California, more specifically Riverside, California, which is about an hour east of LA. That's where I'm from. I didn't move to Georgia alone. I moved to Georgia about 6 years ago, but I didn't come alone. I came with my amazing wife. I actually have a picture of my wife and I. Here's a picture of her, me and my wife. We met on blackpeoplemeet.com. I'm kidding. I shouldn't have said that, no. We actually met at church. This is just my amazing wife. She's so caring and selfless and just she puts other people first, man. All the reasons why I absolutely love her. And then 2 years ago, our life changed because we introduced our very first born. His name is Denver Cox. That's my baby boy right there. I miss him, man. His name is Denver. And then about a month ago, we had our second right here. His name is Dallas. So we got Denver and Dallas. We don't have, there's no like rhyme or reason. So we just like the names. Don't say it. We already got the jokes. You should have a third one named Detroit. But okay, just shut up. We just like the names, all right? And so this is my family, man. Absolutely love my family and what I get to do. Here's a couple of fun facts about myself. 2 fun facts I want to let you know about. The first one, I'm going to have some haters in the room. I know this. But I'm going to just show you a picture. Here's a fun fact about myself. Crazy Laker fan, okay? Whatever. Okay, shout out your favorite team. What's your team, okay? Clippers. What is it? Grizzlies, Spurs, Warriors. What? Raiders? Pacers. I can't hear. I'm sorry. I'm a major Laker fan, y'all. And when we got LeBron, that was a picture of me going crazy because I was excited to have LeBron, okay? Here's a second picture that I want to show y'all. I am a twin. Any twins in the building? Show of hands. Okay, we got a few twins. I love it, love it. If you think that I am on the left, raise your hand. Think I'm on the left. If you think I'm on the right, raise your hand. Okay? I am on the left. Okay, that's me and my twin brother, okay? We got a couple of twins in the building. I gotta let you know, though, listen, me and my twin, we love each other. Like, we FaceTime each other, like, all the time, but that wasn't always the case. We used to, like, hate each other. We could not stand each other. And we always got in these fights, and we always were just, like, always fight. Our biggest fights were over video games. And we would just, we've shot BB guns at each other. Like, we just went crazy. Because we love video games, and we were just so competitive. As a matter of fact, to this day, we still play competitively we still play video games competitively. We just hop online, and we get on the headsets, and we start talking trash to each other. One of our favorite games to play right now up on the screens is Madden. We love to play Madden, okay? Like, that's just our thing. We just love it, okay? We just go at it. Something that some of y'all may know about is this second game that we honestly play too much of. It's this game right here up on the screens. It's Call of Duty right now. It's a lot. I'm going to be honest with you. We play entirely too much, and we go at it. I'm still yelling at him. I'm like, dude, you can't win a gulag. I need you on the field with me. Like, right? We just go at it. We love playing video games, but growing up, we had one video game that just took the cake with us, and it was this game right here that we love to play, Mario Kart. Mario Kart. Y'all know about Mario Kart? Man, okay, this game right here, we loved playing us some Mario Kart. Okay, we loved playing these games. All our life, my brother and I, all we did was play games. We played video games, we played games outside. We just loved playing games. And you have this sort of like built-in friend, but also built-in competitor in a twin or a sibling that you always are going at it with. And we loved to play games. But there's one game that we play more than any other game. And it's a game that I want to talk about tonight. It's honestly a game that you've played. It's a game that doesn't require a console, it doesn't require a remote control or anything. As a matter of fact, you've played this game in the last week. For some of y'all, you played this game earlier this morning. Some of y'all, you have played this game since you have been in this room. Today, I want to tell you about a game that I think, if we're not careful, it has the power to ruin friendships. In the past, this game has ruined marriages. In the past and in the future, this game can and will upend people's financial status and what they're trying to achieve in life. This is a game that if we're not careful, it can actually ruin our lives, and it's a guaranteed way to get us off track. It's a game that everyone is familiar with. From the oldest person in this room to the youngest person in this room, it's a game we have all played. And the game I want to talk about for a few moments is this game right here up on the screens. It's called the comparison game. That's what I want to talk about today, the comparison game. All of us know all too well what it's like to play the comparison game. And me and my twin brother, we were like veterans at this game. Like, we compared everything. SAT scores, who was smarter, GPAs, who was bigger, who was stronger on the field, who was fastest on the field. Like, we compared everything. How this person dressed, what we would wear. We would size each other up, and we would compare our lives. But here's the interesting thing. You don't have to be a twin to be good at the comparison game. You can have a sibling, but you don't even have to have siblings in your life to know how to play the comparison game. As a matter of fact, if you ever thought, you probably haven't thought about this, but as I prepared this message, I thought to myself, no one has ever taught us how to play the comparison game. Like, there's no class. There's no like, hey, here's how you compare your life. Here's how you compare your hair to her hair. No. Like, it's sort of like innate. It's almost like to be human is to compare your life. And no one has ever taught us how to play, but we're all really, really good at this game. And it's something that we do consciously and sometimes subconsciously, and all we do is compare our life. And I know I'm not alone up here. I know for a fact there's people in your life that has played this comparison game. And we compare everything. Like, for a fact, you don't even have to mention maybe things that you've compared your life to, but just throw out some things that you've heard other people compare their life to. What are some comparisons that we play? Go ahead and shout them out. Don't be afraid. Money, okay? What else? Grades. Shoes. Followers on social media. What was it? Cars. All of these things. Like, we are known to compare our life. And honestly, there was this one time where we would just compare each other's lives, but now we have this thing that has poured gasoline on this comparison game. And it's this right here. It's up on the screens. Social media. Like social media, we've kind of gotten away a little bit from just comparing our life to someone else's life. Now we are comparing our life to what other people post. And think about this. You don't get into a mode of comparing your life with someone else's life. You've gotten to a mode of comparing your real life to someone's posts. As a matter of fact, another way to put it is this right here up on the screens, is we compare our reel with someone else's highlight reel. And honestly, y'all, it's something that we have all grown accustomed to. And the first thing that we do in the morning is we reach for that phone and we compare our real life, the stuff that's actually happening in the here and now, to someone's filtered, edited post. And if you've ever been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because whenever you compare your real life to someone else's highlight real life, you start to feel a certain way. And honestly, this comparison game has left us feeling less than and not worthy and not strong enough and not enough. There feels like there's this gap. And honestly, y'all, we all do it. And I got to be honest with you, I've been in that game as well. I don't stand up here as someone who's got this thing figured out. I know for a fact in my own life that I've played this comparison game. As a matter of fact, just to get real with y'all, I wanted to show you something that I'm kind of like ashamed of. I'm trying to like pray against it. I want to curse it. Apple has this thing called screen time on your phone, and it constantly reminds you how much you're on your phone. And these are my stats from last week. I wanted to just show y'all. My daily average is 5 hours and 48 minutes. Not only that, I'm up 7% from the previous week. Somebody's like, that's not even bad. She's like, I'm on like 24 hours. But I'm on my phone 5 hours and 48 minutes. Not only that, I found out that I'm on social media 4 hours of that time. And y'all, I gotta be honest with you. I wish I could say, like, yeah, Marquise, like I'm up here, like I'm on my phone for those 4 hours on social media, thinking about like being motivated and eating better and getting healthy. But as I look at this stat, I gotta be honest with you, the more I look at it and think about how much time I've spent on social media, I guarantee you a bulk of that time I spent on social media was spent scrolling and comparing my life to someone else's life. It's almost inevitable to do because we've all done it. We've all compared our life. And you know that there's just this tension that you have when it comes to comparing your life to someone else's post. And I don't stand up here as someone that's like, hey guys, like we should revolt, we should burn our phones. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that we're not careful. If we're not careful, these devices, this social media, could allow us to play a game that is only going to leave us more out of breath. As a matter of fact, I want to show you guys a verse that, as I learned more about it, as I studied it more, I realized that this is a verse that changes the game for me, and it realized and it sort of showed me the motivation behind what social media is, what this comparison game is. It gave me some clues as to why I compare my life to other people's. Today I want to show you this verse from one of the wisest men to have ever lived. The wisest man to have ever lived said something about this comparison game that I want to show us today. And this guy by the name of Solomon, not Gandalf, Solomon, okay? Solomon says something that I think was very, very profound of this idea of comparison. Solomon said this when it comes to comparison. It's up on the screens. I'm going to read it for you. At the end of his life, he said these words. Then I observed that most people are motivated to success because they envy their neighbors. Let's pause right here. Solomon said, most people are motivated to succeed. They're striving and fighting for success because of the envy of their neighbors. And wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you agree, man, that we all have gotten caught up in this comparison game, in this envying what other people may have? Whether it's friendship groups or outfits or styles or girlfriends or boyfriends, we have all gotten caught up in this game, and the motivation behind why we want to succeed and try harder is because of our envy of another person. He finishes off this statement by saying this. He says, this too is meaningless, like chasing the wind. Solomon said, as I observed and looked at other people, they were motivated because the envy they have for others, and I realized that it's meaningless. It's like chasing the wind. If you were to leave this place and as you walked out, we all gave you mason jars and turned on the AC and I said, hey guys, go catch some wind and bring in as much wind as you can. Do you know how crazy you would look in that lobby? Solomon is saying when we envy our neighbors, it is like running around trying to chase the wind. But it's a game we all play, and wouldn't you agree? Isn't it true that the comparison game has left you exhausted? Like, aren't you tired of playing that game? Because here's the reality and the irony of playing the comparison game. The irony of the comparison game is that it is a lose-lose game. There's no winners in the comparison game. As a matter of fact, there's only really two places that the comparison game will leave you. And I want to talk about those for just a few moments. The first place that the comparison game will leave you is right up here. It's up on the screens. The comparison game will leave you feeling inferior to others. The comparison game will leave you feeling inferior to others. What this means is the more you scroll, the more you feel like you aren't doing enough. The more you feel like you don't have enough. The more you feel like you aren't worth enough. And studies have shown, not for everybody, but for a lot of us in this room, the more we scroll, the more depressed we actually get. And I don't know about you, but I've been in that place where I started to scroll, and as I've compared my life, I feel like what I had, what I've been blessed with isn't enough. As a matter of fact, me and my wife, we not too long ago bought our first home. And we were so excited about it. It was like the day we found out that we finally got it, and they like all the documents went through, and they were like, hey, this house is yours. All that's left is just this time period for the other people to move out. And we were so excited. And the same day that I was excited about purchasing my very first home, this is like a huge deal. I'm like, man, this is amazing. The same day I got online, I started scrolling through social media, and a buddy of mine, he had just bought his first home. And he had a bigger backyard than me. He had more square footage than me. He had more rooms than me. And he bought it at a cheaper price than I did. And I started to think to myself, man, my house isn't enough. I don't have enough rooms. There's not enough backyard space. There's no patio like he has. And all of a sudden, this amazing, amazing blessing that God blessed me with wasn't enough. It vanished. It was squashed. All because, watch this, like Solomon said, I envied what my neighbor had. And so you see, this game that we play with comparison, it leaves us nowhere. It will lead us to feeling inferior to others, and I know I'm not the only person that has felt less than by seeing what else someone else had. And man, y'all, I got to be honest with you. I don't think this is the place where Jesus wants us to live. As a matter of fact, that's one place where a lot of us go when it comes to the comparison game. And we lose because we are feeling inferior to others. The second place we lose and that we're led to is up here up on the screens. It's right here. The comparison game will leave you feeling superior to other people. So if the game doesn't leave you feeling inferior, less than, it leaves you feeling superior. And I know there's some people in the room, and you're like, hey, Marquise, I don't feel less than when I'm scrolling. I actually feel better than people. And you get it. Like, you know, you start to feel superior than them when you start to do what people call the doom scrolling. And this is when you scroll and you see other people, but then you start to tear them down in your mind. Don't leave me up here by myself. I know y'all do it too. You're scrolling, and you see that girl that you really don't like, and you're like, oh, she's got a boyfriend. Little does she know, he's cheating. And you start to just tear these people down for some reason. Why? Because you want to feel superior than them. And you see someone's stat from a game, and you see that guy, and he's like, oh, I scored a touchdown. And you're like, I scored 3 last week. And you play the game to try to make yourself feel better than the next person. And for a lot of us in this room, if we're not left feeling inferior, we start to feel superior. And y'all, I got to ask you, aren't both of these places exhausting? Aren't both of these places trying to keep up, trying to feel like you are worth something and feeling like, man, I'm not less than, and so you do something to feel like you're more than them, and you start to play this game, and one moment you feel less than, and the next moment you feel better than, and you go from less than to better than, less than to better than, and it leaves you feeling exhausted. And it's tiresome to play this game, y'all. Because I don't think any of us were designed or wired to play this comparison game because it's a lose-lose situation. As a matter of fact, I know for myself, it's always left me feeling one of those two places. And I'm not saying that, again, we should get rid of social media. I'm saying that if we're not careful, we will be led to feeling inferior to people or feeling superior to people, and it's exhausting. Why? Because when you're playing that game, all you're doing is trying to put on as many different masks as you can. Because for some of us, we put on masks when we post on social media because it's not even really us. And in one group, you put on this mask, and at church, you put on this mask, and with this friend group, you put on this mask, and then when you go to football practice, you put on that mask, and you're just putting on different masks, trying to keep up and compare your life to other people's, and all you're doing is putting on different masks, and it's not the real you. As a matter of fact, one of the things I like to say is, for some of us in this room, we're not tired from the multitasking, we're tired from the multi-masking. Because we mask our lives, and a lot of what we post is just a mask. And it leaves us out of breath. And so the question then becomes, what do we do? What do we do when it comes to the comparison game? Today I want to leave y'all with just a few things that I think will help combat this idea of playing the comparison game because it leaves us nowhere. One of the things that I want us to do is up here on the screens. Here's a couple of questions that I want to go through. The first question I want to throw up on the screen is this right here. Let's go ahead and get real. Who do you secretly hope will fail? I want us to think about that question. I want to leave that question up on the screens for a little bit because I want to, as we decide what to do, we got to be honest with ourselves with the questions we ask ourselves. And the first question I want to ask you is, who do you secretly hope will fail? Come on, let's not play that game where it's not like we don't do this. Like you're like, yes, Lord, bless everybody except this dude. Like if you could just curse him. Because all of us have that thing within inside of us that if we let the comparison game lead us, we start to hope and wish for other people to be less than us, and we hope they would fail. Who do you secretly hope will fail? I think the way we combat this question, the answer to this question, is right here up on the screens. The answer to this question is to celebrate others. It's to celebrate others. You know how hard it is, y'all, to genuinely hope someone fails and at the same time genuinely celebrate them? It's impossible. And y'all, what I'm saying is whenever there's that thing within inside of you where you want to bring someone down and you want to feel better than them because of what they have, this is a moment for you to celebrate them. And if you ever get to a point where you're like, man, I just feel like I'm constantly comparing myself to this person, either you get to a point where you unfollow them or mute them, but do something where you no longer are playing this comparison game. And I think one of the ways we do that is to celebrate others. Like, man, God has blessed them with amazing friends. Bless them. God, you've done this in their life, and they live here, and their parents make this much money. God, thank you for blessing them. And you learn to celebrate others. Here's why. Because what God has for you is uniquely designed for you. And no one else can take that from you. And you get to celebrate others. And here's what I had to learn in my own life, y'all. I had to learn something early on in being a twin. And one of the things I wrestled with was one of my very first jobs. I was the only person on staff that looked like me. It was a predominantly white organization. You may not know this about me, but I'm black. What? What? Yes. But what I learned in that moment, y'all, and being the only black dude on staff, and what I went through in my mind, not that anybody else put this on me, but I was just like, man, I'm constantly comparing my life to someone else because everybody else had this like commonality, and I didn't look like them, and I started to compare my life, and I started to do things that wasn't me, and I had to learn, Marquise, what God has blessed you with, he's blessed you with. And no one can do Marquise like Marquise can do Marquise. And I got to let you know, no one can do you like you can do you. But if you spend your time trying to be somebody else or compare your life to somebody else, you miss out on what God has blessed you with. And one of the most freeing things, y'all, in my life was to realize what's going to come my way from God is going to come my way. And I get to celebrate others and what they have. And God has uniquely designed me with what I have. The second question that I want to wrestle with and answer today is this question right here. The question is this: who or what is causing you to overlook what's in front of you? Who or what is causing you to overlook what's in front of you? Because the reality is, when we compare our life to other people's, we overlook what God has placed in our hands. Your skill, your ability, where you live, what you do, what you're good at, what you're not good at. All of those things are a blessing from God that He's placed in your hands. And He's blessed you with it to manage it and look over it. So who or what is causing you to overlook what God has blessed you with? I think the answer to this question, or the way that we combat it, is this right here. Express gratitude. And this is the last thing that I'll say. It's to express gratitude. Y'all, I cannot tell you how many things we get to be grateful for that God has blessed us with. And if we're not careful, we will allow the enemy to cause us to overlook the things that God has blessed us with. This is why I do something. It's called my gratitude book. And I don't do this every morning, but I try to do it as soon as I'm done with like my devotional. I have these 2 categories that I just express gratitude in. And it's just a book of mine, and I just picked it up along the way, and it's not anything that anybody told me about. I just said, you know what? I want to get to a point in my life where I'm starting to realize just how blessed that I am. Not that I have a ton of stuff and a ton of money, but I want to start realizing what's in front of me. And so the 2 categories are life and wife. Life and wife. And so what I do is I write what I'm grateful for that morning for both of those categories. Here's a few entries. I just wanted to just throw back to a couple of them. Last November, November 3rd, life. Thankful for my health. I have no extreme pain when I wake up. People are praying and wishing for that, and I overlook that many mornings. Wife. The way Crystal cares for me and our son is amazing. I'm just grateful for that. November 24th, life. Our trip to Jamaica was a privilege and amazingly dope. Wife. Crystal is truly my best friend. I can trust her with anything. March 18th, life. Thank you, God, for my job. The fact that I can provide for my family is a blessing. Wife. Today, Crystal expressed her love for me by letting me rest. Y'all, what I'm doing in these moments of expressing gratitude is I'm not letting the devil cause me to overlook what God has blessed me with. Because if I'm not careful, the enemy will try to let me overlook my life and my wife. And what I want to do in those moments is try to just write down anything that I'm grateful for. And I'm not saying me and my wife, we're just going to always get along. Some of those entries, like I push through the papers. I'm just like, she's awesome. Because we're arguing in that moment, right? But I'm going to do it anyway. Rip. Because I want to express gratitude. Because there's so many things to be grateful for. And here's the bottom line to this message that I want to leave you with. It's up on the screens. The bottom line is simply this. Comparison will cause you to overlook the very thing God intended for you to look over. Comparison will cause you to overlook the very thing God intended for you to look over. All of us has been blessed with something to look over, whether it's our health, whether it's our ability, our skill, our talent, our family, whatever it's in front of us. Y'all, I'm telling you, He gave it to you to look over and to steward and to water it and to make it grow and to make it more fruitful. But if you're not careful, you'll get caught up looking at the next dude and the next girl and comparing your life, and you miss out on what God has placed in front of you. And the one thing the enemy wants you to do is to overlook what God intended for you to look over. And the comparison game has caused many people to look over the marriages that they've been blessed with, look over the family that they've been blessed with, look over the jobs that they have, look over the school that they get to attend, look over the parents that they have. And if you're not careful, the comparison game will leave you either feeling inferior or superior. And y'all, I'm telling you, there's just a different way. If we're going to lose that game anyway, why don't we just quit? If If the game is going to be lost, whether we play it one way or play it a different way, we might as well just quit playing the game. Because I believe Jesus has another plan for us. And today, I want to leave us with that, to consider, to look over and not overlook what God has blessed us with. Let me pray for us. God, thank you so much for all of the stuff that we've been blessed with. God, you have given us so many things that many times we don't realize. And many times we don't catch on to, whether it's our friends or our parents or our small group leaders, our health, our talent, our ability. We've been blessed with something. And Lord, my prayer is that the students under the sound of my voice get it in middle school and high school. They get to a point where they get to express gratitude and they get to celebrate others. Why? Because what you've placed in front of them is uniquely designed for them. And no one can take that from them. And so, Father, I pray that we realize that the comparison game is a lose-lose, so we might as well quit playing and play a different game. And that game that you have for us, Lord, is the game of contentment and gratitude. We love you. We pray all these things in your matchless holy name. And all of BigStuf said, amen.